Well, welcome, film friends, to Top 12, where we truly enjoy a jolly holiday with Mary and watching movies with our friends and family. So, I first want to welcome the lovely Leah Cathers to our show, who is a special lady in my life, but also a very special lady in Nick's life as well, too.
That's right.
You know, and I think Neil's getting to know her pretty well.
What?
Yeah, right?
Yes.
Right?
She's wonderful.
What is happening?
Hey, Neil, hold my hand. Welcome.
Oh, God.
Welcome.
That's good caressing going on. So, Leah, are you excited to be on the...
I am. Thank
show?
you for having me on your podcast.
You're probably one of the most consistent listeners we have.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
Very good.
critiques every episode very, very thoroughly.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I love it.
Which
And just
I'm
yells,
highly-
"Damn it, Neil, why would you do that?"
Highly regretting now that I'm here.
I mispronounce people's names just for Leah.
All right, but today, guys, we are super excited to talk about the upcoming Disney musical, Mary Poppins Returns.
Woo!
So this movie is, of course, starring Emily Blunt, Meryl Streep, Emily Mortimer, Ben Winshaw, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and directed by Rob Marshall. The plot description written by Disney tells us, in Depression-era London, a now-grown Jane and Michael Banks, along with Michael's 3 children, are visited by the enigmatic Mary Poppins, following a personal loss they all suffered. Through her unique magical skills and with the aid of her friend Jack, she helps the family rediscover the joy and wonder that's missing in their lives. So pretty cool, huh? So before we we ascend from the sky holding our umbrella, I want to
We
know.
ascend from the sky
Wait.
holding our umbrella like Mary Poppins.
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
See?
Parasol,
So
right?
I'm pretty sure it would be
Parasol.
descending from the sky, you guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
descent.
Well, she goes away.
She does,
with
into the sky.
Yeah, with the
so,
umbrella
you know,
too.
that's what I was thinking, but I guess descending would make sense.
Because we're like coming to it. We're not
Oh,
like,
yeah,
hey,
yeah,
bye,
yeah.
see ya. But
Sorry.
I want to know. I want to know though. What is your favorite family-friendly musical? Okay, it could be live action. It could be animated. Whatever you think. And Leah, I want to hear yours first because I think I might know what it is.
You think you know. Okay.
Oh.
Well, I mean, my gut reaction would be my favorite is Mary Poppins because it's probably my most watched musical
good one.
as a child. We used to watch it every single day because it was one of the only VHS tapes we owned, to a point where my dad came home and said, if that's on one more time when I come home from work, I'm going to throw it away.
Wow.
But I think one of my favorite is probably Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, which, in this day and age, maybe plot-wise doesn't hold up super well because they are like essentially kidnapping sisters and forcing them to marry
Well, like
them.
the sobbing women.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But it's so good and just delightful, and the music's so good, and I love it so much.
It's actually one of my favorite musicals. It's also one of the only musicals we watched as a kid growing up. So I'm right there with you. Yeah, I love it. So
It's great. If you haven't watched it, you absolutely should.
I haven't.
Leah's never made me watch it either.
I've never made Craig watch it. I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Okay. You know
Let's
what?
have a watching party.
Next time we do this,
should.
we're gonna have a
And
Seven
Nick
Brides
and
for Seven Brothers.
Nick and I are going to sing all
every
the songs.
song.
We're going to act all of them out for you.
You got it. You don't
Okay.
even need to see the
Okay.
movie.
No, you
we
guys
and I got this. We got it. This is good.
Let's put it on the YouTube channel. You guys just put it together.
You got it. North Volume exclusive.
Don't miss it.
All right, Neil, what's your favorite?
My favorite family musical is Annie. I love Annie the musical. It's growing up. My mom used to make me watch that all the time. Well, I shouldn't say make me watch this, but I watched it quite often. Love all the songs, and
The one with Carol Burnett.
Carol
that's
Burnett.
the one and only as far as I'm concerned.
Not the
yeah.
Jay-Z produced.
Well,
yeah.
know, that one wasn't
around
that
when I was
bad.
a
no,
kid.
it was still good.
I you know what I have a problem with that, and the reason why I didn't see it is because Cameron Diaz as Mrs. Hannigan just made me so angry.
But anybody would have paled compared to Carol Burnett. So, I mean,
I don't-
where do you go with
yeah.
that, I suppose,
Cameron Diaz, though, that's
Yeah.
like anybody would pale. Try, can you try and put somebody?
Yeah,
in,
there are a
in the
lot of
role?
actresses that could have done that.
Yeah.
I would love to play Mrs. Hannigan.
Miss Hannigan.
in a production of Annie. I'm being dead
Dang it!
serious.
Why did they call you Neil?
I would pay to see
You
that.
wouldn't be
I
the
would
first
do it.
male to portray that role
sure I
famously.
wouldn't.
So I
Yeah.
mean, what it was portrayed by a role. It's great. I love Annie. It's so good. So my favorite musical is a musical that shares a lot of similarities with Mary Poppins, and that is Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yep.
I love it. I think the songs are an earworm, but I cry every single time I see that movie because it's really just about how much a dad loves his kids and how much the kids love their dad and when you realize the depressing, sad part about that nothing in this movie actually happens, but they're just sharing a beautiful day at the beach, it just, I'm getting choked up right now.
Spoiler
Getting a little
alert.
weepy over here.
Oh, stop. It also has this thing that used to be pretty common in theater where a musical meant for families and stuff, they had intermissions. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang has an intermission, and they keep it in the movie, and it is just fantastic. It's just a great way to be like, okay, we're going to stop this. And we almost always, when we watch it, because we do watch it pretty regularly, we stop at the intermission and then pick it up at the intermission on another day. So
Okay.
it's
so
a
like
great
stop
movie.
the movie. And
Yeah,
then some
yeah,
watch
because
another
I
time.
don't want my kids watching like more than a couple hours at a time. So
How long is Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
Yeah.
it's like 2 hours.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
It's a
for
pretty
kids
long
movie.
musical.
So it's 2 hours. So if the
But so is
kids
Mary
watch a
Poppins.
couple hours is 2 hours.
Well-
so that's two.
Well, they're not only gonna watch Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, okay.
They have to
okay.
watch like YouTube videos from North Volume.
That's right.
You're gonna watch my podcast right now. What about you, Craig?
My favorite family-friendly musical is it was a TV movie, but I didn't watch it as a TV movie. I watched it like on video, like a regular human person would. And it's Babes in Toyland.
Which one?
Starring Keanu Reeves.
Oh God, that's such a
Drew
terrible
Barrymore.
entry.
It's so fun. It's so fun. It's a fun movie. It's about
Craig,
toys and all the crazy characters coming
Do
together.
you even like movies?
I love them. It's just it's neat when they're in the snowstorm and Drew Barrymore's like sitting in a sled and then the car crashes and she falls out of the back of the car, hits her head.
Did you watch this as a kid?
Yeah.
Okay,
of
all
course.
right.
Yeah,
Because I
definitely.
watched this in college, and
Oh.
it just did not hold up.
I would
for
imagine
me.
so. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I have a
Even
a
though
special-
I will fight anyone who says Keanu Reeves is a terrible actor. I love
We
him.
know you love.
I love Keanu
Keanu
Reeves.
Reeves.
But
I won't
yeah,
argue. I won't argue with that.
I just love him.
It's just like such a weird choice.
Yeah.
That's my jam.
Not Wizard
Also-
of not Wizard of
Toys.
Oz.
Also, one
toys.
you've
I like
never
toys.
made me watch. I've never
That's
seen
true.
it.
Did you
That's
see
true.
the original?
I've
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah,
I
I've
like
seen
the
the original too.
original
Yeah.
one.
But you know
Babes
what?
in
When
Toyland.
Leah was sparing you from watching Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, it's because it means something so much to her that she'd actually almost not want to see you not love it.
You
Whereas,
mean like when I showed him Princess Bride and he hated it?
I forgot about that. I'm
Silence.
still mad at you. over that.
Silence.
Wait
I'm
a
still
second.
mad
Wait,
at you.
Craig doesn't like Princess Bride. Okay, is there any level of credentials to work in the movie theater business? Like,
No.
There's a little bit. You gotta like movies, I guess. You can like bad ones. though.
obviously, you don't have to like good movies.
Hey.
I'm sorry.
Hey. Wow.
I'm the worst to talk about this.
Wow.
I love terrible movies.
That's
Lockout is still up there for me.
he's still gotta go back to that. One.
Well, speaking of music and magic, have you guys had a chance to check out our other podcasts and local music on northvolume.com?
Oh yeah,
Some
it's a
great
great
podcasts.
website.
Yeah, thanks. We got plenty of different shows to check out, so go to northvolume.com, check out our different podcasts, and check out our Facebook page.
Yeah.
And check out our YouTube page at North Volume Media.
Yes.
All right.
Great videos of
Great.
us
Well,
doing
that
great
is
things.
awesome, and we're excited about the North Valley Media. But without any more delay, we want to get you guys to our top 12 reasons why we think we're excited to see Mary Poppins Returns.
Number 12, out with the Blanche and in with the blunt. So
family.
I feel like
Family show.
we have to always mention this when we're talking about movies coming out of a person who was going to be in this role but didn't, and apparently Kate Blanchett was rumored to play Mary Poppins before Emily Blunt was cast. And I love Kate Blanchett, and I don't know if this is just marketing or whatever, but from the trailer, from all the promos and stuff, Emily Blunt was meant for this role.
Yeah.
Totally
I have
agree.
a really hard time picturing Kate Blanchett playing.
It would have been a
Mary
darker
Poppins.
role.
Yeah.
Because she's, I mean,
She's
she
more
could
of a
play
serious
nice
actress.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
very, very serious, and like Emily Blunt has her roles like that too. But like Kate Blanchett as Mary Poppins would be, it'd be almost sinister. Yeah, like because Mary Poppins already has that like sort of like,
But
I'm strict a little
Something's
bit.
up
I'm gonna
with
show
her,
you
yeah.
some stuff.
But
So
you say Emily Blunt has serious roles, but the characters she plays are very likable, lovable
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
You know, even in the horror movie she was just recently in,
yeah.
she's this super sympathetic character. You know, like she's not cold in any sort of way.
I think with Kate Blanchett, it's not that she's not likable. I think it's just that the warmth factor that Mary Poppins needs,
Yeah.
because she's so strict and all that, you need to have like that underarching like
Right.
warmth factor, so that you're not like, this woman's horrible.
Right.
Kate Blanchett, it would have been hard
You
to
would
like,
you would expect to see her scene from Lord of the Rings, and it's just like fire and
you will pick up your toys. Like,
Well, I mean, Kate Blanchett is perfect, but Emily Blunt is practically perfect in every
every
way.
way.
So
agreed.
Number 11, The Devil Wears Poppins in the Woods. Mary Poppins Returns is going to be the third collaboration between Emily Blunt and Meryl Streep. They previously co-starred in The Devil Wears Prada in 2006 and Into the Woods in 2014.
So I love Into the Woods. It's one of my favorite like musicals. I thought it was clever. I think I discovered it at an interesting time in my life.
Do you love the movie
movie.
adaptation?
I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where
Okay.
I'm getting to. I was very disappointed from the movie adaptation because there's actually PBS recordings of the musical that are just so great.
Right.
I
Felt
don't
unnecessary
know.
a little bit.
It felt weird, and the stuff that they changed, that they took out almost all of the good comedy, and they added in a bunch of slapstick weird stuff that made no sense. It was like it was more of a sequel to the Brothers Grimm, that movie,
Oh,
than
okay.
it was
Yeah.
its own thing. It felt like.
Yeah, they had a lot of good actors in it, but it just didn't.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp wasn't Into the Woods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Big Bad Wolf.
Oh,
the Big
yeah.
Bad Wolf.
That's right. See, I've blocked this movie
Yeah.
from my mind.
I
Yeah,
don't
he's the
blame
big bad wolf in real life too.
Yeah, accurate.
But Devil Wears Prada.
Devil Wears Prada
Good
is
movie.
great, and
Yeah.
it makes me curious of their level of interaction in Mary Poppins Returns, because I think in The Devil Wears Prada, the scenes with Emily and Meryl together are the strongest scenes
Yeah.
in an already very strong movie. Like,
Yeah.
they are just like fire when they're on screen together.
And they're like
So-
established, and then when you have Anne Hathaway coming in, it's like something
so
different.
I'm hoping there's a lot of people in this movie and a lot
Yeah.
of big names. So I'm hoping they get at least one or two scenes.
Oh, absolutely.
together,
Me too.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Number 10, Magic Nannies. Colin Firth and Angela Lansbury previously appeared in Nanny McPhee.
Love that
in
movie.
2005, which was also about a nanny with special magical powers. McPhee herself was played by Emma Thompson, who played Mary Poppins creator P.L. Travers in Saving Mr. Banks in 2013. So I feel like we're playing a little game of what is it? Six Degrees of
Kevin Bacon. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love Saving Mr. Banks. I thought that was
It
a
was
great
good.
movie, and all I keep thinking about with this movie coming out is just all that the creator didn't want Mary Poppins, like
Right.
the animation and all this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it's neat though.
Yeah.
So
Did she ever turn her mind around after? I know, like when it first came out, and she like hated it. But did she ever like embrace
she
it
did
at all? Okay.
Later in her life, she started to turn around because she saw all the positivity that happened from the animated movie, and it also inspired her to promote the other storylines, because the first Mary Poppins movie actually takes storylines from two of the books and kind of meshes them together. In fact, Bert, the character Bert, he's kind of a combination of 2 to 3 characters.
Right.
But
To make the most magical character.
yeah, I mean, P.L. Travers ended up seeing it as a good thing, and she had a good relationship with Walt Disney. And she did benefit from almost everything that
Yeah.
happened afterwards, because I mean, not only did Mary Poppins do really well in the theater and also in several replays, because remember back then, stuff didn't come to the video. They would just re-show it, and so it was always a massive affair. But also, Disney took the money he got from Mary Poppins and put it towards building the theme park, Walt Disney World, which really also benefited P.L. Travers.
And everyone.
Yeah.
world.
So there you go.
We all get to have it.
I never saw Saving Mr. Banks.
It's good.
It's one of those you're like, okay, maybe it didn't happen exactly like this, but I'm enjoying watching it anyway. Good.
And Tom Hanks, the national treasure.
Tom Hanks.
Playing Walt Disney.
Playing Walt Disney, just yeah.
He's like, if you were gonna try to take a very controversial figure, have him played by Tom Hanks.
Everybody will love him.
Because it's like he's still kind of a racist ass, but
He's Tom Hanks.
But he's Tom Hanks. Exactly.
It's fine. All right, let's go to number 9, guys. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Well done.
So about 2 years ago, a Change.org petition was made to get Michael Rooker a cameo in this movie after his role as Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 had him imitating Mary Poppins with his wand there. The petition was signed by over 2,500 people, and they all wanted this to happen. So I think Michael Rooker would want it to happen.
Yeah.
pretty good. But do you think the Guardians reference was able to be used because them and Mary Poppins are under the same umbrella?
Oh, absolutely.
Whoa!
Wow.
I'm not even gonna take a pun.
Yeah. I think he's been working on that one for days, guys.
Well done. But
Yeah, totally.
Probably.
But here's another thing. Michael Rooker is such a normal looking dude. Like,
What?
What?
No, I mean he's not handsome. That's what I mean. Would you say he was
Oh, okay,
handsome?
like he doesn't look like a movie star.
Right.
Okay.
He looks
He looks like a monster.
in a
has
lot
that
of his
big
roles,
jaw.
but I don't know. Like
in a lot of roles, all of his roles.
I get what you're saying. If he was like walking down the street, you
you wouldn't think
twice,
he was
like-
famous unless you knew who Michael Rooker was.
Right,
You know what I mean? Like sometimes you see like someone who looks like Johnny Depp, and you're like, wait a minute, this guy's beautiful. He's got to be a movie star. You know what I mean? Like, so anyway, my thought was for a movie that potentially has a bunch of colorful characters that are also a bunch of, I mean, the first movie had street sweepers and street performers, and they weren't super attractive. And this movie takes place before World War II.
Right.
So in Depression era London.
Yeah.
So why couldn't they just get a homely Michael Rooker to play just the
Should
guy
just
in the
be
background?
floating in the background
No,
somewhere.
the end credits. And he's
Yes.
just coming down to the end credits. And
I would
Awesome.
I would lose my mind about something like that. That would be great.
That'd be
pretty
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, it'd be cool. It would definitely been fun to have him in the movie. But
I think it would take me out of it.
would you be pulled away? You'd be like, you know what?
Just be like, oh.
The
wanna
Marvel
see it, but
universe is
it's-
taking
yeah,
over.
yeah, yeah.
You know, they had me with the magical powers, they had me with the animation and all this, but
Michael Rooker.
The singing birds.
Michael Rooker,
Get
come
outta
on.
here.
That's the guy from season 1 of Walking Dead. Wait a minute. No.
No, it's the dad. He's the dad from.
You want a chocolate covered
Mallrats.
pretzel?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's the alien monster from Slither.
Oh, that's
So-
right.
Totally normal dude,
I did
guys.
see
Totally
that.
normal dude.
Yeah. I guess I described him wrong.
Yeah. I would. He's not normal looking.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 8, Oscar Poppins. The film's cast includes 2 Oscar winners, Colin Firth and Meryl Streep.
Great.
The 3 Oscar nominees, Angela Lansbury, Julie Walters, and Lin-Manuel Miranda. So do we think that Mary Poppins Returns will bring home an Oscar?
Yes. And if it brings home an Oscar for Lynn, that will make Lynn an EGOT.
Oh, it is. Oh,
Yes.
that is.
So Lynn has previously won an Emmy for his work on the Tony Awards. He's won a Grammy for Moana, and he won a Tony for Hamilton, obviously. So he was nominated for an Oscar for Moana, but he didn't win. So if he wins, it's a pretty big deal. So
And he lost out to La La Land.
yeah.
And-
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean,
Family movie.
he wouldn't. I don't know if it would make him the youngest because John Legend just EGOT'd, and
Right, that's right.
I don't know where they.
But
fall
he'd be
age-wise,
the
but it would
coolest
be-
person
it
to
would
get
be
an
a really
EGOT.
big deal.
Hey, John
and
Legend's
in such
pretty
a short,
cool.
and in such a
Yeah,
short
John
period
Legend
of
is pretty
time.
He's a cool, dope
Yeah.
guy.
So if it wins for music, that would be huge. But I could
Yeah.
see
probably
potentially
music.
Emily sneaking in with an actress nomination, possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe a sound editing.
See, this is the type of thing that is almost it's a win-win for everyone. Even if this movie, just marketing wise, everyone loves Mary Poppins, and they're reminded that they love Mary Poppins from this other movie coming out.
Right.
But unlike other reboots and remakes or sequels, where people are like, "You're messing with my childhood," Disney really seems to have embraced
Yes.
the what is it
Art.
called? The sacred nature of this Mary Poppins character.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
What Oscar do you think Lin-Manuel would?
Well, he
be
wrote
up
a lot
for?
of the music, so
Right.
if they get nominated for any
Of the music.
of the song
For the
or
music, exactly.
score
Yeah.
awards, then he
Yeah,
could win.
probably not supporting actor anymore.
No.
Probably
Yeah.
be going up against A Star Is Born. Is my point.
Oh, that could be
That's
rough.
that's gonna be
Yeah.
a tough category.
Yeah.
That's gonna be.
So-
That's
gonna be
true.
Really hard.
Dun,
And
dun,
you see, A
dun.
Star Is Born has that nostalgia factor too. So
Well, Mary Poppins.
But-
is
yeah, but
nostalgia,
no, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
it's more
they're butting
competitive.
heads. The butting
Yeah.
heads between it. That's true.
So
good
that
point.
might be an interesting race to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious when that comes out.
We're gonna have to do an Oscar
Yeah.
episode.
Eh.
Nick, come on. It'll be good. Don't worry. Okay. Number 7, Mamma Mia.
Hey, that's racist.
That's the wrong.
It's more like Mamma Mia.
But I want to do the Mario version.
This is not a Mario episode.
It can be right. Bob Hoskins, we're bringing him in, right?
I'm sorry, North Volume listeners.
So Meryl Streep and Julie Walters and Colin Firth previously starred together in the musicals Mamma Mia and Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. With that in mind, do you think that again, we don't know how much Meryl Streep and Colin Firth are gonna interact with each other in this movie, but do you think they enjoy being in films together? Like, you think they're like, oh, my buddy Colin, like, this is great, like, come join this movie, or is he like, all right, I'm working with Colin again? Okay,
I think a lot of old Disney movies, when Disney was doing all of these live action movies, they would cast the same people over and over again. And I think Colin Firth he's great because he can play a bad guy and he can play a good guy, and you still love him both ways. He's great in action. He's wonderful in drama.
Yeah.
And Meryl Streep is just this massive name who she has been in some terrible, terrible movies.
And we all forgive her for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she's still really great.
Yeah.
right.
But
So
I feel like that age and class of actor, like, sometimes you can look at it as sort of like the British group, though Meryl Streep isn't British, so she kind of gets inoculated.
I think she's
into
on-
it.
she's honorary British.
Yeah.
Like
but
Madonna.
it's like the Harry Potter class. Like, they're all like in movies, and you just kind of mix up the shuffle, like,
Yeah.
and it always works. Like,
Right.
it seems like they all enjoy working together, and they all respect each other's talents.
yeah.
I mean, these people are getting work because you can work with them.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
you know,
They're not Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I'm pretty sure. Colin
I take
Firth and
offense to
Meryl-
that comment right there.
I'm just saying.
Wow,
Craig. We've heard
Wow,
some.
Craig.
Remember Widows, guys?
Even though I was wait, we'll talk about that
Oh.
another day.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
fine.
Number 6, Father and Son. In the 1964 Mary Poppins, Dick Van Dyke played a dual role as Bert and Mr. Dawes Sr., the bank manager. In Mary Poppins Returns, he's making an appearance as Mr. Dawes Jr. And at the time of this recording, Dick Van Dyke is 93 years old. So do you guys think they wrote this role in specifically for him because they wanted Dick Van Dyke back?
It brings back the nostalgia. You know, if you're taking a movie that's over 40 years old or whatever, and you want people who cherished it back then and have kids come see it and stuff like that, like to bring back characters or at least likenesses, or even if the actor wasn't alive, having like their Spawn or whatever be in the movie as well too.
There's Spawn.
Yeah, Spawn. Like I think it brings you back to like, oh yeah, remember Dick Van Dyke, remember.
So,
I think-
so what's interesting, and I just have to, I love Dick Van Dyke, and I love Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and I think I love it more because Dick Van Dyke's in it. And but here's an interesting fact is, so if you watch the trailer for Mary Poppins Returns, the only Dick Van Dyke thing you see is him dancing up on a table, which I think is probably CGI.
Maybe
I don't know.
But
He-
but I'm
Yeah.
but
Surprise.
I'm willing I am willing to believe that because Dick Van Dyke, when he was cast as Bert in Mary Poppins, he actually didn't know how to dance. He was
Wow.
So magical.
this man just was like, he takes everything so seriously. And I don't know how long it's been since any of you have seen Mary Poppins the original, but I watched it a couple months ago and I was just blown away with all of the acrobats and
incredible.
Dick Van Dyke is such a great presence, and him being in this movie means a lot to me. Like
I
it just
agree.
it feels good.
I agree. Like, if you have any kind of like emotional attachment to the first one, like, again, Julie Andrews is a treasure, but Dick Van Dyke to me is the heart of Mary Poppins. Like, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, as an adult, like, he's everything you
Right.
want, and like to have him. And I think it helps that yes, Dick Van Dyke is 93 years old, but he is not like old decrepit 93
Yeah.
years
Right.
old. Yeah, so I'm sure they had that in mind. Like, well, we can
Sure.
have him, and it's going to be great. He's going to bring everything to this role that he brought to this role in the 60s. So
Right.
that definitely helps in the. If you want to say they wrote a role specifically for him, that may be the case, but I don't think it's going to feel out of place. Like you were talking about, if like Michael Rooker just appeared, it would be like, oh, it takes me out. I don't think it'll take
No. Yeah.
anybody
it's
out
true.
of the.
Especially
element.
it's like a role, like another role that
Yeah.
he's sort of played before. It's just
Yeah.
that,
And there is one thing that Dick Van Dyke did that was not good, and that was the disgustingly horrible Cockney accent. And
It's so charming.
it is the worst. But
it's been voted like one of the worst accents.
he has gone on record several times over saying that he apologizes for the Cockney accent. He gave reasons why, because apparently his vocal coach was Irish and didn't know what they were doing, and it was just this like all these other excuses. And when he was in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, where he played an Englishman, he did it with an American accent. So
What came first, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or Mary Poppins?
Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, no, I'm not doing
In fact, musical numbers from Mary Poppins that were written for the movie Mary Poppins, over 40 plus musical numbers were written for the movie Mary Poppins,
Wow.
and only a dozen were left in there. So Disney actually moved a lot of those musical numbers to other movies like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and a bunch of other live action movies. So
What was
yeah.
the last thing you saw Dick Van Dyke in?
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I just watched it with my kids last weekend.
Like, what was the last project he was on?
He does a lot of like TV, like kind of cameo.
Yeah,
n-
he was all in all the
cameos.
Night of the Museum movies.
Yep.
What?
That was probably the most recent thing I've seen him
Yeah.
in. Was
What's
Night
the
of
movie
Museum.
where he's? And I should have looked this up before did this, but he was reading a book that had a misprint in it, and the producer of the book, she had to stop him from reading it in front of a bunch of children, and then she ends up tackling him. What movie is
Oh,
that?
I don't know.
Oh,
Sounds hilarious.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but this sounds great.
It's gonna.
was he just like
bother
a
me.
cameo in this thing, or was it like he like the star?
No, it was a cameo.
Like a
It was
cameo thing, okay.
What?
Wow.
I gotta look at it.
There's
Okay.
something happened with
And whoever it was ends up tackling. This
We're
9-year-old.
gonna
Do you-
pause.
Do you
while
guys
we-
like cameos like this, like from movies, a nostalgia factor movie? Do you want to see people from the original pop up and
oh yeah,
yeah?
I do and I don't. It needs to be not tasteful. I don't care about taste. But it needs to be either clever or casual. Like I like a casual, like where there are some movies where the writer of the movie or something will be like a background character,
Yes.
and you're just like, oh,
I know
look at
them.
that,
Yeah.
But when a cameo is super obvious, it needs to be done really well. Like Stan Lee's cameos in all of the Marvel movies, those were very obvious cameos,
Right.
and they're for the most part they were all great.
Yeah.
So I don't even think to call this Dick Van Dyke's character, this role, to call it a cameo
Right.
is a little strange because he's a character.
Yeah.
Right.
That is
right.
im-
He's playing a
Probably
role.
going to be
And we-
important.
I
Probably.
haven't seen the movie either, so it might be like the character straight from. Maybe it'll have some kind of tie to the original.
Well, he's the
Well,
son.
he's
Oh,
the
yeah.
son
He's the
of
son
of
Bernard
Bernard.
Senior.
Yep.
Oh,
Bank.
yeah.
So I'm assuming he's going to work in the bank or banking or
Yeah.
some involvement with what's
Which was
happening.
funny because he wore severe old makeup
Yes.
back in the original, and now he's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
No makeup necessary.
It's funny, sometimes you'll see it on lists of like things you didn't know about movies, like, and it'll be like, did you know Dick Van Dyke played Bert and the bank manager? And I'm like, who didn't know this? Who's like,
Oh,
really?
That's pretty.
was
that's
it?
pretty obvious.
It's pretty
I
obvious.
haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Oh.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
You should watch
It's
it.
right here for you.
It's
Double
You can-
feature.
It's the only time he doesn't carry that terrible Cockney accent.
That's right.
I think I even
Wow.
tried watching it with my daughter, and she was like, "No."
Oh,
Oh,
man.
wow.
So
But
we're
it was Wizard of Oz. She's like, "Can you just put Wizard of Oz back in?" I can't. I'll look it up later. It's gonna
All
bother
right.
me. I think
We'll
it
have to
was- I
amend.
think it was Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh,
he
maybe.
mentioned
Okay.
on
She's
that.
a show.
Yeah.
That's one of those shows that gets any actor they want to do anything.
Yeah.
It's
Like
wonderful.
30 Rock.
Because Steve
Yeah.
Beck.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's basically 30
It's-
Rock Part 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Part 2.
Yeah.
Except Wetter and
Wetter?
all right. I'm sorry. It is Kimmy Schmidt is better. I'm sorry. We can fight about this later.
Whoa, this is a movie podcast. All right, let's,
right.
let's keep the TV to.
It says the guy who liked the Keanu Reeves toy
The TV
Babes in
version.
Toyland.
Yeah.
All right. Number 5. When are you too old for a nanny?
Never.
The original Mary Poppins took place 4 years before World War I, or 1910. This film, Mary Poppins Returns, takes place a few years before World War II, 1935-ish. No confirmation on that yet. In the middle of a massive depression in London. In 25 years, Jane and Michael have all grown up, and Mary has not aged a day.
I think it's great. I love that
Love it.
line in the trailer that when the kids go, I'm here for the bank's children. For us? Oh, yes, you too, I suppose. Like, I love it. I love the idea that it's not just, because they could have easily just rehashed, like, oh, now they need help with their kids.
Yeah.
And I love that that's not it. It's that
No, it's-
Jane and Michael have forgotten what I've taught them, and
Right.
I need to go back and help
And
them.
there's that part where Michael goes, you haven't aged a day. He's like, Michael, you never discuss a woman's age. I thought I taught you better. You know, that's so great.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. This is really tough because this movie's being made a lot longer. It's a sequel. There's a massive time, and you can't cast the same actors, which actually I think kind of works because you're not expecting Julie Andrews to play the same role. You're not expecting Bert to play the same role. So, or I'm sorry, to Dick Van Dyke to play Bert again. You know.
Person.
And she's got to
right, yeah.
teach new lessons. Like now, there's like, be safe on the internet.
No,
and
no,
you
no,
know.
1935.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. There's no internet.
No,
Sorry.
not yet.
Okay. All right. So watch out for Nazis.
It's a big one.
That's a big
no
one.
to Nazis, kids.
Let's-
Also still
So
relevant.
when I was
Polio is still a
so
thing?
when I was younger, of course, you know, because I don't know if you guys know this, but I obsess about a lot of things. And
What?
Yeah, it's weird.
Never would've guessed.
Mary Poppins. I would always think because I knew that Mary Poppins took place before World War I, and I would always think, wow, London was such a huge part of World War I, and I would always think like, oh, a couple years later. What happened? They could have all died. You know, like I know it's
no.
terrible, but part of me is relieved to see life happening.
Yeah.
But of course, part of me is also hoping that they make it through World War II.
Oh, no.
But that would have made Overlord a completely different movie.
Mary Poppins is coming down as a paratrooper. Oh, yeah, look what's going on.
There you go.
Wow.
You gotta love it.
All right, let's go on to number 4. Big shoes to fill. So Julie Andrews, who is known for her roles in Sound of Music and Mary Poppins and countless other classic movie and TV roles, fully endorsed the casting of Emily Blunt as her successor, calling it a wonderful casting decision. Blunt said that it was lovely to receive Andrew's stamp of approval and actually cried tears of joy when she found out Julie Andrews' reaction to it.
So any interview I've seen with Emily Blunt, I can totally see this happening
Yes.
because she's just such a delightful person, or it seems, or she's really good at marketing
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah.
And I just like, I could just see her being like,
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh man, I love you.
Yeah. Great. This seems to be a pretty recurring theme. I think Julie Andrews, for like especially women like in this age range, like she was a really big part of growing up for
Right.
us. Like, you know, she's in a lot of movies. We started seeing her in more things even in our adolescence. And like,
Yeah.
You saw this when Lady Gaga did the Sound of Music kind of like, what do I want to say? Tribute on the Oscars. Julie Andrews came out at the end of her performing and kind of was like, you did a great job. And Gaga just like loses it and is like,
Right.
oh my God, you know? So I think it's great that Julie Andrews like does that. Like
Yeah.
everyone wants her, you know, to be in all these things, but she's like, you know, my time happened and I like really respect you guys moving on with it. And like, she kind of gives them the charge to lead ahead, which is great.
And it's easy for us to forget, but in the 60s, there was very few bigger names than Julie Andrews. I mean, she was this massive force and has maintained that. Even when she had a botched operation where her vocal cords got nicked and she couldn't sing anymore. Yeah. She still acted in a million movies and in TV, and she has this absolutely positive outlook on life. She's just this genuine article who is just wonderful. I'm not the biggest fan of The Sound of Music. I don't know what it is. I think I would prefer Mary Poppins over it, but everything she was in was just fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that she was okay with this role that made her super iconic.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That was cool.
Definitely.
Number 3, Emily's Show. Julie Andrews turned down a cameo appearance that was offered to her, fearing that it would be too distracting. She said that this is Emily's show, and I really want it to be Emily's show.
Good for her.
Yeah.
It just adds
super
to
smart.
the class act that she is.
And talks about, you said, other cameos where it sort of pulls you
Right.
out.
Yeah.
If you were to see Julie Andrews, you'd be like, who's Mary Poppins?
Yeah.
Which
I
one?
agree.
Which ones?
I think that's a perfect parallel of, in this movie alone, casting that works and that wouldn't have worked. And I think she knew that. She knew that maybe Disney wanted her, if it's like, well, people are going to really want to see this if they know Julie's going to be in it.
Right.
But she knew that it wouldn't serve it the
Right.
best. That it
She
could.
also, I mean, in an actual like legacy wise, she needs to spend time business wise protecting her legacy. She's in her 80s now,
Yeah.
Right.
and anything she does is going to be somewhat in the shadow of other performances that she has. I know that's a sad and depressing kind of fact.
You're only
However,
as good as the last thing you're in.
well,
Kind of a thing.
yeah, there's that adage. I mean, look at, everyone thinks of Dracula, you think of Bela Lugosi, but he died poor, you know, like, because he just did every movie that he could try to do, and Julie Andrews, she has nothing to prove, you know, and the fact that she wants the spotlight to focus more on the character of Mary Poppins and Emily Blunt, I mean, good on her.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But does she?
Amazing.
Because now, instead of being in Mary Poppins, she's a voice in Aquaman that comes out the same week as Mary Poppins. So if you want to see Julie Andrews, you go see Aquaman. You don't go
I
see
think you just
Returns.
described that. She's a voice.
Yeah.
So she had to do very little to no work. She could literally phone that in,
She probably did.
right?
Parasol did or something.
She could literally phone that in.
Like, you think about that.
But she's making her own holiday cameo
Yeah.
with her own.
And money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
probably.
good for her.
Good for her.
Good. Again.
Go, Julie.
The Aquaman movie, I'm sorry. I love you, James Wan. I need you to know this, but I have no faith in this movie.
God.
So anybody that can make money off of this
It'll be
before it
good,
comes
guys.
out, let's do it.
Go see it.
Go
It'll
see it
be
at Cumberland
good.
12.
Don't worry.
Hey, I'm gonna go
it'll be a
see
good
it at
time.
Cumberland 12,
Check
but
it out.
yeah.
So people are
Especially if
I
James
gotta
Wan
think.
joins me.
I
love
mean,
him.
Nicole Kidman. Come on.
Okay, that's enough. All right, number 2. Wow, we're at number 2 already. Worth the Wait. Now, when Mary Poppins in the 1964 version was being written, the lead role was offered to Julie Andrews by Walt Disney himself. Andrews told Disney that she was pregnant and could not do the movie, and Disney wanted Andrews so much that he postponed production in order to accommodate Andrews' pregnancy. When Mary Poppins Returns was announced, the rumor is that history repeated itself again because Emily Blunt was also pregnant, and the Walt Disney Company postponed filming to accommodate her pregnancy. It's a neat little story.
It's a nice
So
little parallel. Do you think Emily was all? I mean, it sounds like she was, but like we talked about, Cate Blanchett was rumored. Like you were saying, Emily feels perfect for this role, and she
does.
absolutely does. But is there anybody else that would have been worth them being like, nah, we're gonna
To hold off.
Well, yeah, like if Emily couldn't have done it
Oh,
because she
couldn't
was
have done it.
pregnant or whatever, like
this is really tough.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I am now saturated with promotion for this, and I can't see anybody but Emily Blunt in this role at this time.
Now, was this Emily Blunt's first child?
Second.
No, second.
Second,
Child.
with
What about
with
Julie
Jim.
Andrews when they postponed it for Julie Andrews?
It was her.
She only-
It was her first. And funny thing about that, and I kind of thought this was an afterthought, but it's an interesting fact. So Julie Andrews was actually made the Broadway version of My Fair Lady. She won all sorts of awards for that, and she went up for casting in My Fair Lady, but actually lost out to Audrey Hepburn. And that really upset her. Like, she was really distraught about it, wanted nothing to do with it. However, if she had gotten cast, she would have not been able to do Mary Poppins. And she actually was considering quitting with acting, and so she was moving on with her life. She was ending a production. Walt Disney went to go see this production on Broadway, and he just fell in love, walked backstage, because when you're Walt Disney, you can do whatever you want.
Yep.
And then walked up to her and said, "Hey, we got this project." And she was like, that's wonderful, except I'm pregnant, and I'm not going to be able to do it. Like,
Well, here's what I was getting at though, because as an actor or an actress, you take your own personal experiences with you into the characters. So
Right.
Mary Poppins' character, I mean, becoming a new mom brings that whole background to that character,
Yeah.
which lends itself to Mary Poppins.
That's
itself.
right.
So you got the same thing with Emily Blunt. So when you say who else would you cast as Mary Poppins, who's got that nurturing, motherly characteristic? That's who you would need to cast in that
Yeah.
spot. So Emily Blunt is
perfect.
can't get more perfect than that.
Yeah.
Practically perfect in every
And
way.
she just feels so genuine in it. And I mean, I think that's just, like you said, if that's not a characteristic of Emily, she is doing a real good job of faking it.
Yeah.
But it just seems like it is. And not that other actresses aren't genuine or anything like that, but the way she fits into this role feels seamless. And like you
Right.
don't have to convince yourself to believe it.
And she looks like Mary Poppins.
Yes.
They didn't
really
have to
does.
work really.
Yeah.
They really didn't have to work very hard to make that
Yeah.
fit. And she's genuinely British.
Yes.
And not that that's a
Actually.
big deal. I
Unless
you know,
you're Dick
like
Van Dyke doing
if
a
you
Cockney accent.
if you have a good vocal coach, you can actually do an accent really well. And it does happen. I mean, there's plenty of British actors that have American roles who we never know are British until we see them on Conan O'Brien.
Right.
But I don't know. She just feels so genuine in this. She looks the part. She acts the part. The way she smiles is like a smirk, and it's that Julie Andrews smile. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really excited about this film. And normally I wouldn't be excited about a family film like this that's super Disney, super commercial, but part of me, the kid inside of me is just like, I can't wait. You know,
Yes.
I want to see this. So
For sure.
Very good.
And here we are at number 1. How Long is Too Long? As a result of the film being released 54 years after the original, Mary Poppins Returns is one of the longest released sequels in Disney history.
That's pretty epic.
That's
Yeah.
a long time.
A long
Yeah.
time to wait.
Not a
It's for
reboot.
Disney we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
and I
like
think that's the most impressive
cranking 'em out.
part, that it's not a reboot. I feel like
Right.
they easily could have gone that route. They easily could have been like, you know what, new generation, we're doing this again, and
Right.
to not do that.
Because there's been no Mary Poppins like offshoot stuff,
Nope.
right? There's been like no
Nothing.
animated series.
There was
or
a there was a
straight to
there was
DVD
a
stuff.
there was a Broadway musical
Yes.
that
Yes.
incorporated some of the songs that were not in the movie. However, that was it was approved by Disney, but it wasn't a sequel. It was just an adaptation of the movie.
Right.
Okay.
So, however, there was this time, and I'm sure you all remember, in the late 90s, early 2000s, where Disney was coming out with sequels to things that nobody wanted sequels to, like Fox
true.
and the Hound #2,
Right? No one
and
needs that.
like
The Second Coming.
it doesn't make sense. Why would there be a sequel?
No.
One of them has to die at some point. Like it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And Mary Poppins is definitely one of those things they could have just had as a Disney Channel exclusive movie where
Yes.
Mary Poppins has a small TV show, and I'm glad they didn't do that
Yes.
because it makes this more epic.
Yeah, and I think we all know Disney and we've seen Disney, but if anyone can do it, totally them. To have a movie that they've had no connection with for over 50 years
Right.
to
Right.
do their own thing, especially now with all their live action stuff with like Aladdin and Lion King, and like they're just people want to see. They want to
Two things
relive
I
this
am
stuff.
super nervous about
Yeah.
because I didn't want to see a remake of Aladdin or The Lion King. I thought they were fine, but whatever. I must also let you know that I enjoyed the Ghostbusters reboot. So
Right.
my
True.
taste is all over the place.
Yeah. And it's going to take them failing, somewhere. Jungle
Yeah.
Book did really well, and Beauty and the Beast did really well.
And that was actually
It's,
quite good.
Jungle Book was
Jungle
great,
Book was
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Jungle
Yeah, it was
Book
awesome.
was good. I
Yeah.
did not like Cinderella though.
Was Cinderella or Beauty and the Beast? Because there's Cinderella
Beauty
they
and the
did
Beast.
too.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
But
Cinderella was okay.
Maleficent was awesome. I mean,
Yes.
that was a great movie. So
Yeah.
Disney knows what they're doing, even though
They can't have a home run every time.
no,
No, but
and
Mary Poppins that's a
Yeah.
big stake. That's
Right.
It's a
But
big gamble.
which is
Yeah.
again
You
why
know?
I think this was a smart way to do it. And I was super nervous when it just was first announced, and you knew it was going to be a sequel because it was Returns and all that,
Right.
but there was no other information. But I feel like it usually goes the other way. As more information comes out, you get more and more nervous, like, oh God, I'm kind of dreading this. And I feel like as more and more information has come out, I've just gotten more excited and more comfortable with how
Right.
they're doing it. The trailer that we got where you saw that they were using the animation, like
Yeah.
they used it in the
The
first
old
one,
school
Yeah.
cell
was
animation. Yep.
huge for me because those scenes are iconic, and like to include that and not go, oh, that was weird and embarrassing in the 60s. We're not going to do that again.
Right.
I feel like
they
was
consulted
great.
animators from the original film.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty
To
cool.
get into it, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I feel like, and I'm curious what it is about this property, if it really was so personal to the company that they really feel like they are like,
Yeah.
cradling it and trying to protect it as best they can.
And
So-
Mary Poppins is Disney as much as anything else can be
Yes.
Disney.
Yep.
I mean, you think Mickey Mouse, you think other things, but Mary Poppins
Mm-hmm.
is Disney.
Yeah.
And
Hand
I'm
in hand.
I'm
And we know
super happy
now
about it. Yeah.
that Mary Poppins helped create Disney World. That's all the.
I mean,
yeah, that's awesome.
Walt Disney was a strange guy who had he had infatuations with certain actors. I mean, his last words were
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, and nobody knows why. Maybe that's why I love Kurt Russell so much. Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah,
We
his
said it on our
last words.
podcast.
Oh, I must
Yeah.
have missed
Overlord.
that.
Yeah, his last words were Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
So nobody knows why. But anyway, like he still like loved a lot of child actors and adult actors and used them in several productions because it was about quality and not about trying to try something new.
Right.
I mean, think what you will about Walt Disney, he was still an innovator, and the fact that he took this animation studio and this movie studio and he was like, oh, let's do a theme park. Let's do 2 theme parks. That's pretty amazing. And being able to tie the 2 together and quality control is there. And I think you can see, I look forward to this movie having that same quality control that's in
Yeah.
most Disney properties.
Right.
Definitely.
So
But it
Those
still
of
feels good.
you with kids, Neil and Nick, like, do you think that, they always kind of build these things as like for a new generation sort of things. Like, do you think this will be that Mary Poppins for kids this age, or do you think they'll still have interest in them as like together? Or, I mean, Neil, you said your daughter didn't really care for it, but
I don't know. It really depends on what we're gonna get in the first place. Because if it's not good, it's not good. But if it's just as good as this Mary Poppins, I could definitely see it being part of this generation's childhood as they grow up.
Sure.
Like, oh my God, Mary Poppins Returns. You remember that?
Yeah.
But I don't. It should be interesting because my child loved How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the new one. She's not very critical about certain films.
Did she like the old one too?
Oh yeah.
Did she like
the Jim Carrey one?
Jim Carrey one?
She never saw the Jim Carrey.
Oh,
one.
okay.
Don't
You
do
didn't-
that to her.
Parenting.
Yeah, that one,
Go ahead. People love that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh,
It was a little too scary, I think, for her.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know when we go and see it.
See,
Because we're definitely going to see it together.
I think some things have a timeless quality, like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and even the reboot, the remake, whatever they did. I mean, it was interesting, but it didn't make it wasn't better than the Gene Wilder version.
Right.
And I think Mary Poppins, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, these are somewhat timeless because they put themselves in a period that it wasn't the 60s. It was the, way before then.
Right.
So it carries over. And if it's good, it's gonna transition. And they're setting this Mary Poppins pre-World War II. So if it's done well, I think it's a great exposure. And if it's a classic, it's a classic, and you can't beat a classic. So so I'm excited.
It's going to be awesome. Well, guys, that's our show, Mary Poppins. Let us know what you think about Mary Poppins if you're going to go see Mary Poppins and see it this holiday season. Don't forget, you can check it out at Cumberland 12 Cinemas. You can buy tickets on our website, cumberland12.com, or come in and see us at the box office and get your tickets there. But we're going to have a ton of great shows for Mary Poppins all Christmas season long.
Awesome.
including our anniversary on December 19th.
That's right.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us today, Leah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you did great. We got to have you back here
Aw, gee,
sometime.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Well, I'm Craig.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Neil.
And I'm Leah.
All right, guys, thanks for listening.
See you at the movies.